Morning. So let me start with a little bit of honesty here this morning. You know, there are some things, like this music stand. There we go. Okay. There are some things in this job that I do that I don't really like to do. I'm sure that's true for all of you in your jobs or in your life. There are things that you do that you're not crazy about either. The reason there are things that I don't like to do in this job is because I'm not very good at it. And the things that I'm not good at, I don't like to do. I don't know about you. I don't know why I'm rhyming. I'll stop. We all have those things in our lives that we don't like doing, right? But we do them anyway because they have to be done. But I can tell you with 100% certainty that what I'm doing right now, is not one of those things. I love preaching. I love the whole process of preaching. I love finding out what the text is going to be and then going through the message and saying, okay, God, what is it that you want me to say this week? Where is God going to speak to me this week? And what does the congregation need to hear? And what's going on in our world? And where is God active? I love this whole process of preaching. I love the build up to it, but this moment, the delivery of the message is my absolute favorite. It's where I get all of my energy when I'm up here on Sunday mornings, is delivering this particular message. But when I was in seminary, I took a couple of preaching classes, and I learned some things about preaching that you may know, that you may not know. Some things that may not seem like a big deal, but in the long run they are. Like, for instance, I learned what to do with my hands. Like, I don't want to be doing this because I'm not bringing in an airplane. And then you also learn that you don't want to pace too much, because if you pace too much, you're going to make people dizzy. And if you go too fast, people aren't going to be able to keep up. Did you know that there's something called a preacher's voice? And you're taught not to have it. A preacher's voice sounds very particular, and I promise if you go to the Midwest, you will hear preachers preach like this. Have you ever heard somebody preach like this? These are all things that you learn in seminary. One thing, though, well, I carried a lot of things away from seminary, but one thing I do always stick with when it comes to preaching a message on Sunday mornings is that there is something that you want the congregation to leave the service. You want them to be able to answer a particular question. When they leave, after you're done preaching, after the message has been delivered and they've heard it, you want the congregation to be able to answer the question, okay, now what? You've heard the message, now what are you going to do? How is your life going to change? That is the goal of preaching when you're done with it. That the congregation gets something out of it. Now, the egomaniac in me hopes that everybody that I preach to walks out of here and their lives absolutely change, and all relationships are reconciled and everything is great and wonderful. I know that doesn't always happen, but that's what the egomaniac in me wants to actually have happen. But nothing makes a preacher feel better when somebody from their congregation comes up to them weeks later after having preached a sermon and says, you know that one message you preached, I'm still wrestling with that. You know that one thing you said? That was an amazing sermon. That will just absolutely make any preacher's day, to know that a message that's been preached, somebody is still thinking about it. And so that's my hope. My hope is, after I'm done, most of the time my hope is that you walk out of here and you're able to answer that question. Great, Pastor Mike or Pastor Brian preached, and now what? I hope you're able to answer that question. How does the message change your life? What are you going to do having heard this message? What's the next step in your faith? That's the question that I want answered every Sunday, with the exception of this Sunday. You're off the hook. I'm not going to make you answer the now what question. This week, instead, I want you to walk away from this message attempting not to answer the what question, but attempting to answer the why question. This morning we're starting a brand new sermon series called Love God. Isn't that a cool banner? That's like one of my favorites. It's very simple. And today's message is entitled, The Gift of Surprise. So let me start off by asking you a question this morning. When it comes to your faith, is it easier for you to answer what you believe, or is it easier for you to answer why you believe? Which would you rather answer? You see, I would rather answer the what question. I think the what question is much easier to answer. The why question, that's a little bit more difficult. Because a lot of the time, answering the what question typically doesn't require too many details or explanations. What religion are you? Christian. What denomination? Lutheran. What did Jesus do? Well, he was born in a barn. He lived his life, started a ministry, 30 years old, taught a bunch of things, healed a bunch of people, went to the cross, died, and rose 3 days later, and now he sent us his Holy Spirit. That's the answer to the what question. These are questions that I can answer that I don't have to think a lot about. And I really like not having to think. You guessed it. But where it gets a little bit more difficult for me is when I'm asked, why? Why do you believe? Why are you Christian? Why Christianity? Why not some other religion? Why does Jesus make a difference in your life? You see, the why question forces us to go deeper. It's the why question that forces us to seek out those answers. You know, one of the things I hope you know about me is that I don't take myself all too serious. I like to laugh. I like to poke fun at myself. I think laughter plays a really important part in life. I think laughter has a way of allowing people to kind of drop their shoulders and take a deep breath. I love laughter. One of my favorite comedians is a guy by the name of Michael Jr. Maybe you've heard of him. He's a Christian comedian, but that's not why I like him. I just think he's incredibly sharp, he's incredibly funny, and he's incredibly thought-provoking. And he was actually the one that challenged me with this idea of why you believe, not just what you believe, to focus on the why. And so he gave a much better explanation than I give. So in a few seconds, I'm going to show you a video clip from him. And it's a clip of him talking to his audience. And I just want you to watch this particular gentleman that he's going to talk to. I want you to watch his body language as this gentleman in the audience is talking. Watch his body language, watch his eyes, watch the way he reacts to the questions that Michael Jr. is asking. So please turn your attention to the videos.
The series is called How Do I Know? And a lot of times when people hear the phrase, how do I know, the next thing they say is what? How do I know what? But the key really isn't to know what, the key is to know why. Because when you know your why, you have options on what your what can be. For instance, my why is to inspire people to walk in purpose. My what is stand-up comedy. My what is writing books. My what can be going out with some friends to eat. In fact, another what that has moved me towards my why is a web series that we have out now called Break Time. So every Wednesday at 3 o'clock, you should subscribe to the channel. We do a series called Break Time on YouTube. So 3 o'clock, we drop a new episode. One episode in particular, I'm about to show you a clip to. We were in Winston-Salem. So Break Time, this is how it works. I travel the country, I do stand-up comedy, probably an hour and a half at an event. And in the middle of my show, I'll just sit down and start talking to the audience. And funny just happens. Or I'll meet somebody who's really interesting. So I met this one guy, and he said that he teaches music at a school. I was like, all right, you teach music, you know, can you sing? And then I'm just gonna show you the clip. Check it. So you're a musical director. Cool.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let me get a couple bars of like Amazing Grace. Can you do the first part of that? Go ahead.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Wow. That bro could sing, you know what I'm saying? All right. Now, what you give me the version is if your uncle just got out of jail, you got shot in the back when you was a kid. I'm just saying, let me see the hood version real quick, if you know which version I'm talking about. Just see if that exists. Let me see what you got.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I see.
So here's the thing. The first time I asked him to sing, he knew what he was doing. The second time I asked him to sing, he knew why he was doing it. When you know your why, your what has more impact because you're walking in or towards your purpose.
If you watch that video, you can get it on YouTube. The first time he sings this song, his eyes are open and he's looking straight ahead. He's very aware of everybody else around him. He's very aware that he's having an interaction with the man on stage and the members of the congregation are right there. But the second time, when Michael Jr. says to him, now, this is why you're singing. Know the reason behind the words that you're singing. Feel it. Know the purpose of singing, not just the what. And if you watch his body language in the second time he sings, it's amazing. He takes a deep breath, closes his eyes, closes everything else around him out, and he sings because God has blessed him. He knows exactly why he's singing. He knows the purpose of his singing, and you heard the difference, right? Which would you rather listen to? The first was great, don't get me wrong. First was beautiful, but the second, oh, that was amazing. That's the why. That's the answer to the question that I hope we're able to walk away from this morning and answer the question why. Why do we believe what we believe? And I got to tell you something about that singing. That lives inside of you. That passion. You have a purpose. There is a why answer for you. Now, it may not be to sing as beautifully as you heard this gentleman sing in our message this morning. But your why is just as beautiful, just as passionate, and just as powerful. Why do you believe in God? Why do you believe in God? Why do you follow God? That's the answer that I want you to be able to ask this morning. The answer to the question, why? So, I know what you might be asking. Some of you might be asking, all right, well, what does knowing the why have anything to do with our scripture this morning from Isaiah? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm going to tell you. One of my confirmation students is right in front of me, and he definitely is asking that question because he's one that has some of the best questions in confirmation. I'm going to tell you why it has something to do with our religion. See, I think one of the reasons sometimes I at least struggle with my faith is because I get stuck in the what. I get stuck in just what I'm doing, what I believe. And I believe one of the best ways for you and I to find the passion inside of us, one of the reasons to find our purpose, the purpose that God has called us to follow Him, is to discover what our why is. And one of the best ways to discover that why is to read the scriptures. Now, I realize that's a really pastor thing for me to say. I mean, that's what I'm supposed to say, right? Open your Bible, get off Facebook, get your face in the book, read the Bible, read the scriptures. That's what pastors are supposed to say. But stick with me on this for a moment. When you read the scriptures, don't simply read them to answer questions of what God is doing. But start searching why God is doing what He's doing. Take the text from Isaiah this morning. What is God doing? That's pretty easy to answer. God's saying He's going to send His child. And what are we going to call that child? Well, we're going to call the child Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. It's easy to answer those questions. That's just reading comprehension. But what about the why? Why is God sending this child? I mean, why does God do anything that He does in the Bible, really? I mean, when you read the scriptures, do it with that question in mind. Why is God doing what He's doing? Let's think about the story of God for a second. I mean, basically, the story of God as you read the Old Testament, as you read throughout the Bible, is God tells His people to do something. God makes an agreement with them. We say, cool, God, we'll do it, and then we don't do it. We break the covenant. And God goes, okay, you broke the covenant, come back. Let's make another one. Let's try this over. God keeps constantly hitting the reset button for us. Rather than cutting us off, God continues to call His people back to Him. I mean, what did Adam and Eve do, right? Adam and Eve, here's this beautiful garden. It's all yours. Just one small thing. Don't eat from this tree. Oh, you ate from the tree? Well, now you got to go. Abraham and Sarah, I want to make you my people. You're going to have so many descendants, you're not going to know what to do with them. Moses, I've heard the groans of my people. I'm going to come get them out of Egypt and take them to the promised land. You just have to follow a few rules. David, I'm going to make you a king because you're a wise leader. Every single time God gives something or leads His people someplace, His people squander what God does. And yet, as you read the Bible, God continues to call His people. God continues to love His people. That's what God does. But why does He do it? Why did did God do what he did? I mean, with Adam and Eve. Why, when Adam and Eve took a bite of that apple, why did God continue to be with them? Why did God give them children? Why am I on the wrong page? Oh, here we go. Sorry. It was backwards. Break time. All right, here we go. Why did God give Abraham and Sarah a child? Even after they laughed at God. Why did God say, I'm still going to give you that child? Why did God take his people to the promised land even after they complained about being taken out of Egypt? Even after they worshipped a golden calf? Why did God allow David to continue to rule even after he had his little fling with Bathsheba and had her husband killed? Why in the world would God be willing to send his own son into this world? Into a world that God knew would eventually reject him. Into a world that God knew eventually people would hate him. Into a world that God knew people would be out to get him. Where God knew that eventually he would be beaten, bloodied, and hung on the cross. Why would God do all of that? Why would he do that for us? Why would he do that for his people? Why does he keep calling us back to him? I mean, I get one bad experience at Chili's and I never go back. We are constantly messing up, and God continues to call us back. We're constantly messing up, but God says, okay, come back. Why? It's that amazing grace. That amazing grace that guy was singing about in the video this morning. There is no other answer to why God does what he does other than he loves you. He loves me. We have been given an amazing grace. That's the surprise gift that the world received from God, this child. There isn't a thing in the world that we've done that's entitled us to Jesus. We're not that awesome. We're not that good. We're not that good at following our word. It is only because of God's amazing grace. Now I realize there are things that happen in this life. Things that can happen to us that we don't see coming, things that happen to us that are bad, and we will turn to God and ask the question, God, why? And I realize we don't always get the answer that we want. We may not even get an answer. That's why we keep our face in the scriptures to continue to be asking the question, why does God do what he does? When we read the scriptures and ask, why did God do what he did, at least for me, that's the only answer that I can come up with. The reason that God called me, the reason that God continues to guide me in my life is because of his amazing grace and love. The love of God can be more fully grasped when we move beyond what we believe and discover why we believe it. Last month we asked members of the congregation to consider why they give. Well, this month, this Advent season, this Christmas season, I'm asking you to consider, why do you believe? I'm asking you to consider, why do you do what you do? Why do you want to be a follower of God? Why do you want to be a better spouse? Why do you want to be a better parent? Why do you want to be a better sibling? Why? What is the answer behind that question? And as you read the scriptures, and as you come to church, and as you hear the messages, I can tell you that in one way or another, your answer to the why question will be wrapped up in this amazing grace, and will be wrapped up in God's love. What an amazing gift we've been given. What a surprise from God. A surprise in the form of a child. What an undeserved, unexpected surprise gift from our Heavenly Father this Jesus is. Amen. Peace of the Lord be with you always. Please share that peace with one another.